So, excuse me. Following today's theme of fashion, I want to make sure that my talk is similar to a woman's skirt, long enough to cover the subject, but short enough to still be interesting. That may have been a little bit off color. I apologize. Hopefully the three other guys in the room really appreciate it. Okay, so I want you to paint a scenario for yourself. Every person here, I want you guys to imagine that you go home after this event and you go about your daily life, and tonight you get ready for bed, you brush your teeth, go to bed, and you wake up tomorrow morning and you get ready to get out of bed and you suddenly realize that your legs won't move. How do you think that would affect you? How do you think you would react to that? How would that change your life? Now, imagine that a few months go by and all of a sudden you are no longer able to move your arms. How do you think that would affect you emotionally and mentally? So I know that sounds like a very grim and a very far-fetched type thing to happen to any individual, but that is not unlike what happened to my dad. You know, my dad, when he was first diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, he was about the same age that I was when I was diagnosed, in his younger 30s. And he walked on a cane for a few years, but his MS went into remission. And he, for most of my growing up years, he lived a seemingly normal life. And back in those days, there were no treatments. There was no medication to speak of for multiple sclerosis. So your disease, it just progressed. And what happened with my dad was that when his MS came out of remission, it came back without mercy. And he woke up one morning and he was unable to move his legs. And a few months later, he was unable to move his arms. And then next, he was unable to see clearly and then to speak clearly. And he really lived the last few months of his life confined to a bed. And I remember back in those times, I really wished that I could trade places with my dad. I think a lot of times in life, when you see someone that you love so much, and I'm sure any parent in this room can relate, when you see someone that you love so much, that's going through trials and going through a severe amount of pain and suffering, you would do anything that you could to trade places with them. Because I think that is really what the core of love is. And obviously for me, that wish never came true. I was never able to take away his pain, to take away his suffering. But one of the things that's happened to me, having been diagnosed with MS myself, is that I have grown a lot closer to my dad since he passed away. Because I know what it's like to feel some of the things that he felt. I know what it's like to feel alone. I know what it's like to feel despair. I know what it's like to carry the burden of having to provide for a young family, not knowing exactly how long you will be physically capable of providing for them, but knowing full well that they depend on you for everything that they have. And as my wife mentioned, one of the things that we have learned in recent years is just how unpredictable life is. There's really nothing in life that is for certain. Money and material wealth, it can be with us one day and it can be gone the next day. Our loved ones can be taken away from us in the blink of an eye. Even good health, as I have discovered, is as fragile as life itself. But one of the things that I've discovered is that most things that we have can be taken away from us without our consent. But one of the few things that every single one of you possess that cannot be taken away from you involuntarily is hope. And when the dark clouds of adversity gather around you and you feel your heart weakened, your faith weakened, and you have no courage, one thing that you do possess is the power of hope, that belief that things are going to get better for you, that life is going to be okay, that this too shall pass. And, I don't believe, I would be willing to bet that there's not a person in this room who is not acquainted with grief and with suffering and with pain and with trials, as Mary spoke of. I think we all go through these different stages in our lives. And, trials, they come to us in many forms. Some are physical, some are emotional, some are mental, financial, spiritual. The list goes on. And we really don't have a whole lot of control over what types of trials are given to us in life. But one thing that we do have control over is how we respond to those trials. Theodore Roosevelt, he once said, "I have never in my life envied a person who has lived an easy life, but I have envied a great many people who have led difficult lives and led them well." And when I think of my own life experience, some of the greatest people that I have come to know are people that have known defeat. They've known rejection. They've known suffering. They've known pain. And what's happened is somehow these people have found their way out of the depths of some of the darkest moments that you could possibly imagine. And what it's done to them, I think, is it's really refined them. It's helped them to create an appreciation, a sensitivity, and almost a better understanding of life that enlarges their hearts, that allows them to be more sympathetic, to love other people like they wouldn't love otherwise. And so there is always, always, always a silver lining in every difficult thing that we go through in life, because I truly believe that great people, they're not just born. I believe that great people are created out of the tribulations that we go through in life. And my father was certainly one of those people, as is my mother, who is here today, who's had a hard life and has led it very, very well. I don't believe that any one of us were put here on earth to live an ordinary life. In fact, quite the contrary. I believe that we were put here on earth to look for good and to do good everywhere that we go. I love this quote by Gandhi. He said, "I shall pass through this world but once. Any good, therefore, that I can do, and any kindness that I can show to another human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again." And I think that is so profound, because we really only have one chance at life. We have one chance to get it right, and our lives are very short. And Gandhi had this unbelievable ability to inspire other people. And I think every single one of you have that same ability. And I don't know what to call it. I think I'll call it the power of the human spirit. The power of the human spirit is very strong. It's very resilient. It's inspiring, and it's infectious. And when you strive to live your life in a way that is inspiring, when you strive to live your life in a way that is the best to your potential, you somehow give permission for other people to do the same thing. I believe that goodwill towards other people is something that is a great ripple effect, because the light and good inside each of you inspires the light and good inside other people. And this is a little bit personal, but when my father was very close to death, I had a moment with him that I will never forget. And my dad, he was not the type of person that liked or really knew how to show his emotion. I never remember him crying. And in this one particular moment, I think I knew that his life was coming to an end here on earth. And I think he knew it too. And I knelt down beside him, and it was one of the only times in my life that I can remember him crying, physically crying, and tears began to roll down his cheek. And as he cried, tears swelled up in my eyes, and I really didn't know what to say to him. And I looked up at him and I said, "Dad, I will make you proud of me." And those were the very last words that I ever spoke to my dad before he passed away. And I reflect quite often on that promise that I made to him so many years ago, and I wonder how well I'm living up to that promise. And it inspires me to be better, to do good, find good everywhere I go. And I think every single one of us can relate, because we all have fathers, we all have mothers, most of us have children. We have someone that inspires us to live a meaningful life, and we owe it to them to live a life that they can be proud of. And I want to thank you all so much for being here today, because you are part of an incredible cause. And with your help and with your support, we will someday live in a world where the words multiple sclerosis only exist in history books. Thank you very much.